Imagine this moment: the lights dim, the world slows, and you finally have nothing left to do. Only the sound of your breath and the soft rhythm of the night. Tonight, we'll wander together through Ireland where the mist moves like memory, and old stone walls whisper stories older than time. But these aren't tales meant to frighten. They're lullabies of forgotten places, gentle voices from the past, here to keep you company while the world outside falls asleep. Let the candlelight in your mind flicker softly. Let each word feel like rain on old rooftop, steady and calm. You're safe here, surrounded by stories, carried on the wind. So close your eyes, breathe in, and let Ireland dream with you tonight. Story 1, Leap Castle, County Offaly. The night settles deep over County Offaly, and the air grows still around the dark silhouette of Leap Castle. It stands alone among quiet fields, its gray walls rising like a memory too heavy to fade. Inside, the corridors breathe with the weight of centuries. Soft drafts slide beneath ancient doors, and the echo of forgotten footsteps lingers in the stairwell. You can almost hear them now. The faint shuffle of boots on stone, the low murmur of voices carried by the draft. Leap Castle has been called the most haunted place in Ireland, but tonight, it feels more like a house that remembers. Every wall has absorbed the sorrows of those who once called it home. The O'Carroll clan built this fortress long ago, and within these halls, power and betrayal shared the same breath. It's said that one brother struck down another right here in the chapel, a moment of fury that left the air permanently unsettled. Even now, visitors say the chapel grows colder without warning, as though time still remembers that instant. The firelight flickers low in the great hall, illuminating dust that drifts like slow snow. Somewhere above, an unseen door creaks open. Some say it's the bloody chapel. Others call it a place of restless peace. And sometimes, if you listen long enough, you might sense her, the figure they call the elemental. A soft shape at the edge of vision, neither kind nor cruel, only ancient. Her presence is like the earth itself, cold, patient, eternal. When the wind moves through the broken windows, it carries a faint metallic scent, as though the air itself remembers blood. But the longer you stand there, the more that smell fades into something softer: candle wax, dust, old wood. You realize the castle isn't trying to frighten you. It's trying to tell you what it cannot forget. Outside, mist curls along the grass. The moonlight rests on the battlements, silver and unblinking, and somewhere, in that in-between space where night and history meet, the castle exhales. The spirits within it do not wail or rage. They only watch, as if keeping company with those who dare to remember them. As you step away, you might glance back and see one window still lit, a warm glow in the high tower, where no one has lived for centuries. Perhaps it's a reflection, or perhaps it's the castle itself, keeping its own vigil through the endless Irish night. And as the light fades, you continue your journey following the soft roll of hills that lead you toward the sea. Story 2, Loftus Hall, County Wexford. Along the windswept Hook Peninsula, where the sea crashes endlessly against black rocks, stands a house that seems to breathe with the ocean itself. Loftus Hall, grand, silent, and watching. Its windows look out over the Irish Sea like eyes that have seen too much. At dusk, when the tide sighs against the shore and the gulls vanish into the mist, the mansion's reflection trembles faintly in the puddles along the road, as if uncertain whether it still belongs to this world. They say the story began on a stormy night in the 18th century. The wind howled across the cliffs, and a lone traveler appeared at the door, drenched and pale, seeking shelter. The family inside the Loftuses welcomed him, as any kind soul might. He stayed for several days, and his charm began to warm the halls that had long grown cold. But one night, during a quiet game of cards, something strange happened. A card slipped from the young lady's hand, Anne, the daughter of the house. As she bent to retrieve it, she glanced beneath the table and saw that the guest's feet were not feet at all, but hooves. The traveler rose in silence, his face unreadable, and then they say he vanished through the ceiling in a flash of smoke and fire, leaving the room scorched and silent. The house never recovered. Anne withdrew from the world, wandering the corridors in a long, pale gown, speaking to someone no one else could see. They locked her in the upper room for her own safety, but the sea winds carried her voice across the cliff soft, broken, sometimes singing. Years later, when the house was rebuilt, workers refused to enter certain rooms after sunset. They spoke of a woman standing by the window, gazing out toward the sea. Sometimes her reflection appears in photographs, not in anger, but in quiet longing, as if she still waits for the traveler to return. Tonight, as the waves strike the rocks and the moon rises over the Hook Peninsula, you might stand before Loftus Hall and hear the faint hum of wind in its chimney. It sounds almost like a voice, low, melodic, and full of sorrow. The sea answers her in rhythm, wave after wave, and as though they've been speaking for centuries. The halls are empty now, the furniture long removed. But the air still carries that strange mix of salt and candle smoke. When the wind blows through the broken glass, it plays the house like an instrument, every room a note, every corridor an echo. And if you stand quietly enough, you might hear footsteps crossing the upper floor, slow, measured, graceful. You might imagine Anne still there, her hand on the curtain, her eyes fixed on the horizon, waiting for someone who never truly left. The mist thickens, wrapping the old mansion in its gentle veil. Somewhere beyond the cliffs, a light flickers across the water, perhaps a ship's lantern, or perhaps just memory itself, burning on. And further north, beyond the storm-touched sea, another story waits among the cold stone walls of Dublin. Story 3, Kilmainham Gaol, Dublin. In the heart of Dublin, where the city's pulse slows at night and the lamplight drips softly across cobblestones, stands Kilmainham Jail, a place built of iron and sorrow. From the outside, it looks a sleep gray stone, barred windows, silence as deep as sleep itself. But inside, the air still hums faintly, like the vibration of old chains. You step through the gates, and the sound changes. The world outside fades, replaced by the quiet rhythm of your own breath. The echo of your footsteps bounces off the curved ceiling, just as it once did for hundreds who walked here long ago. The cold walls hold no anger now, only remembrance, only... Built in 1796, Kilmainham was once the beating heart of Ireland's most painful moments. The revolutions, the uprisings, the cries for freedom that echoed too loudly to be forgotten. The cells are small, the windows narrow. In the daytime, they let in little light. At night, only the moon's reflection slips through the bars, like a soft touch from another world. People say that if you walk here after midnight, you can sometimes hear footsteps following your own, not in threat, but in solidarity. The sound is calm, deliberate, a reminder that courage, too, leaves an echo. Guards who once worked here spoke of sudden drafts, of keys turning in empty doors, of faint singing down long corridors. In one cell, the air is colder than the rest. It belonged to Grace Gifford Plunkett, who married her fiancé, Joseph, within these walls only hours before his execution. She painted a small Madonna on her cell wall, a fragile prayer in color and silence. The painting remains to this day, her hand forever preserved in pigment and stone. At night, a pale glow sometimes dances across that corner, not firelight, not reflection, but something gentler. Visitors describe it as a shimmer of peace, like candlelight in a church long abandoned. No one feels afraid here, only quiet. You stand in the main hall, where the curved balconies look down like silent witnesses. The air feels heavy, but not oppressive, more like a great sigh held for centuries. You can almost hear the voices whispering, waiting, forgiving. Outside, the city's heartbeat resumes distant music, the low murmur of people unaware that just beyond their laughter lies this vast, sleeping monument of memory. And as the last door closes behind you, the night deepens over Dublin. The air grows softer, warmer. The road leads westward now, toward Offaly once more, where another castle waits in quiet shadows, one that knows both grandeur and ghosts of gentler kind. Story 4. Charleville Castle, County Offaly. Deep in the wooded heart of County Offaly, Charleville Castle rises from the earth like a dream half remembered. Its towers reach toward a soft gray sky, and the forest seems to bend around it, protective, yet watchful. As twilight seeps through the trees, the castle becomes almost luminous. The last traces of sunlight caught in its tall windows. Inside, time feels slower. Dust glows in the thin light that spills across the grand staircase, and the scent of old wood and faded perfume lingers. You can hear the forest breathing through the cracks, the sigh of leaves, the gentle moan of wind brushing against ancient stone. Charleville Castle was built in the early 1800s by Charles William Barry, a man who dreamed of Gothic splendor. But beauty and sorrow often live side by side. The story that still drifts through these halls is of a little girl named Harriet, the youngest daughter of the family. They say she loved to play on the staircase, her laughter echoing through the corridors. One day, she slipped, falling to her death in a quiet instant that left the whole house silent. Now, visitors sometimes hear the sound of small footsteps pattering above, or the faint giggle of a child hidden just out of sight. The air grows lighter when she's near, a feeling not of fear, but of innocence revisited. A candle might flicker as though stirred by a passing breath, or a door might ease open as if inviting you to play. In one of the upper rooms, the wallpaper still bears traces of flowers, faded almost to nothing. On still nights, caretakers have said that the scent of lavender fills the air, even when no flowers bloom nearby. Perhaps it's her way of reminding them that joy once lived here, that even in a house built from shadows, the light of a child's laughter never truly dies. The castle hosts gatherings now, music echoing through the great hall, voices blending with the hum of the wind. Yet, some swear that in the quiet pauses between song, they can still hear Harriet's melody, soft, distant, and full of wonder. When you step outside again, the forest greets you with open arms. The air feels cool and kind. The castle stands behind you, wrapped in vines and moonlight, its windows glowing faintly as if watching you go. You can almost imagine a small face at the window, smiling, waving farewell. And as you walk down the old path lined with ancient oaks, the night opens wider, somewhere beyond the trees. The mountains rise, and on their slopes lies another place where the firelight once burned too bright, a place called the Hellfire Club. Story 5. The Hellfire Club, Dublin Mountains. High above Dublin, where the city lights melt into mist, the Hellfire Club rests in eerie solitude. The ruins sit atop Montpellier Hill, a stone shell against the wind, its roof long gone, its walls marked by time, by day. It looks like any other ruin. But when the fog rolls in, the air around it changes. It becomes a place where sound seems to vanish, where the world grows distant and still. You climb the hill at dusk. The path winds through whispering grass, and the scent of pine drifts on the breeze. As you reach the top, the last of the sunlight fades, leaving only a deep blue glow across the valley below. The ruins stand before you, a broken house with a soul that hasn't slept in centuries. The Hellfire Club was built in the 1700s by men of wealth and mischief, noblemen who gathered here for drink, games, and stories meant to test the courage of their own shadows. But the foundation stones were taken from an old burial cairn that once crowned the hill. From the moment they were moved, something about this place refused to rest. There are tales of a stranger who arrived one stormy night, cloaked and silent. They invited him to play cards, laughing over the crackle of the fire. But when a player dropped a card and bent to retrieve it, he saw the guest's feet were cloven like a goat's. The stranger smiled. The lamps went out, and when light returned, he was gone, leaving only scorched stone and terrified silence. Yet, when you stand here now, you don't feel the fire of that legend, only the weight of wind and memory. The stories are ash now, drifting across the mountain. The laughter that once filled these rooms has become something softer, almost like music. The roofless walls open to the stars, and you can see the flicker of distant lights from Dublin below. Sometimes hikers claim to see a shadow cross the open doorway when no one else is near, or to feel a sudden warmth on their face as if someone had lit a fire just beyond sight. But it fades just as quickly, a momentary kindness from a place that remembers. You rest against the cold stone, feeling the night wrap around you. The wind hums through the ruin, carrying the faint scent of smoke, not of burning, but of a long-vanished hearth. In that moment, you understand the Hellfire Club isn't haunted by evil, but by longing, the echo of lives that tried to outshout the silence and failed. Now, they whisper instead, quieter than breath, content to be part of the mountain again. As you descend, the stars sharpen against the black sky. The city below gleams like spilled light, and far to the west, past forests and lakes, another castle rises beside the water, one that still dreams beside the quiet edge of Lough Lean. Story 6. Ross Castle, County Kerry. At the edge of Lough Lean, in the soft heart of Killarney, stands Ross Castle, its reflection trembling gently on the surface of the lake. The water there seems almost to breathe, sighing against the stone walls that have watched centuries drift by. When evening settles, the castle becomes a silhouette of gold and silver, the light of the setting sun fading across the towers until only the moon remains. It was built in the 15th century by the O'Donoghue clan, proud and fierce, their story rooted deep in Irish soil. But time, as always, turned pride to legend. The tale that still floats across Lough Lean is not of war or victory, but of love, the kind that refuses to rest. They say O'Donoghue himself vanished one morning, right before his people's eyes. Some claim he stepped from the window of his tower into the mist, and instead of falling, he rode away across the lake on a white horse. Others say he drowned. Yet every May morning, when the air is still and the water calm, a soft mist rises and in the shape of a rider appears tall, luminous, and silent. The lake holds its breath, and for a moment, it feels as though the world forgets how to move. Locals still speak of it in hushed tones, how, if you rise early enough and wait by the shore, you might glimpse him beneath the water's surface, eyes closed, dreaming still. They say he will return one day, bringing peace to the land he once ruled. Until then, he sleeps in the depths of the lake, where moonlight touches him like memory. Ross Castle has other voices too. In its narrow staircases, footsteps echo when no one climbs. In the old bedrooms, the air shifts gently, as if someone has just passed through. The lake wind seeps into every corridor, carrying the scent of water and moss. Yet nothing here feels cruel, only ancient, like a song sung too often to frighten anyone anymore. You stand by the shore now. The moonlight turns the ripples silver. Behind you, the castle's reflection wavers softly, its towers bending in rhythm with the water. Somewhere beneath those calm waves, a legend sleeps, patient and kind. And as you turn away, a soft breeze brushes your cheek, cool and damp as if the lake itself were breathing a farewell. You follow the winding road north, where the land grows gentler, and another castle stands waiting among gardens and ghosts. Story 7, Malahide Castle, County Dublin. Just north of Dublin, where the sea mist drifts through the trees and the air smells faintly of salt and ivy, lies Malahide Castle, one of the oldest inhabited castles in Ireland. Its grey towers rise gently from a carpet of green lawns, and when twilight falls, the walls seem to hum with quiet memory. For over 800 years, generations of the Talbot family lived here, loved here, and left their echoes behind. It is said that at least 5 spirits walk these halls, but none with malice. They are companions of the night caretakers of stories, wandering between past and present with the patience of time itself. There is Lady Maud Plunkett, forever young in her bridal gown, searching for the husband she lost to jealousy long ago. Sometimes she appears at the end of the corridor, her face half hidden by a veil that stirs as if touched by wind no one else can feel. Then there's the jester, Puck, a small, cheerful figure said to have fallen in love with a noblewoman he could never have. One winter evening, he was found beneath the ivy, his heart still and his lips curved in a quiet smile. Yet those who pass the stone walls at night sometimes hear his laughter, not haunting, but kind, as though he's still trying to make someone smile. And then there's the man in black, Miles Corbett, one-time lord of the castle, executed for his deeds long ago. His spirit, they say, appears only when change is coming, pacing the battlements as though inspecting his long-lost home. Inside, the corridors smell faintly of beeswax and old books. The portraits along the walls seem to breathe with the flicker of candlelight, eyes glinting briefly as if recognizing an old friend. When the wind passes through the open windows, the chandeliers sway, and the light scatters like water across the ceiling. It feels less like haunting, more like communion, a meeting of centuries in one soft breath. Visitors who stay past dusk often describe a sense of comfort here, as though surrounded by unseen company that means no harm. A chair might creak as if someone has just risen from it, or a door might drift closed with careful gentleness, as though not to disturb the quiet. Outside, the garden glows with dew beneath the moon. The trees lean toward the castle, whispering in the sea breeze. If you listen closely, you might hear laughter carried faintly across the lawns, a sound too soft to be of this world, but too warm to be anything else. And when the night deepens, the castle lights dim one by one, until only the moon keeps watch. The stories rest again, folded neatly between the stones. Further inland, and where ivy covers the ruins and the stars hang lower in the sky, another estate waits, broken, beautiful, and haunted by love that refused to fade. Story 8. Duckett's Grove, County Carlow. In the quiet countryside of County Carlow, where the fields stretch wide beneath a pale moon, stands the ruined beauty of Duckett's Grove. Even in decay, it has breathtaking towers reaching like fingertips toward the stars. Windows hollow yet dignified, ivy flowing down its walls like green silk. The night air here carries a sweetness, a blend of wildflowers and stone dust. And when the wind sighs through the empty corridors, it sounds almost like breathing. Once, this place was full of light. The Duckett family lived here in grandeur through the 18th and 19th centuries, their voices, laughter, and music spilling from every room. But wealth fades, as all things do, and the great house fell silent. When the last fires burned out, stories began to bloom in the dark like night flowers. They speak of a woman in white, who wanders the gardens known as the Banshee of Duckett's Grove. Some say she was a servant, others a lost lover. Her figure appears in the mist after midnight, her gown glowing softly in the moonlight, her hair drifting like smoke. Her presence isn't cruel, only sorrowful, like someone forever walking home through memory. One tale tells of a caretaker who saw her while trimming roses in the overgrown courtyard. She moved through the fog, barefoot, her face calm but distant. The air grew suddenly cold, the birds fell silent, and when he blinked, she was gone, leaving only the scent of wild rose and a single petal on the ground. The castle's interior is hollow now, open to the sky. Moonlight spills freely through what were once great halls, pooling on the floor like silver water. Sometimes then visitors hear the faint rustle of skirts, or a door creaking as though opened by a gentle hand. But fear does not live here. Instead, there is a strange kind of comfort, the peace of something finally surrendered to time. In spring, the gardens bloom wildly around the ruins. Violets and foxglove creep through cracks in the stone. The wind carries the hum of bees and the quiet rhythm of the land reclaiming what was once its own. The house stands still, proud even in ruin, like an old soul remembering its younger self. They say if you visit at dawn, when the mist still lies low on the grass, you might see her near the fountain, the woman in white, motionless and serene. She never looks toward the viewer, only into the horizon, as though waiting for someone who has been gone too long. And when the sun finally rises, her form fades, the dew brightens, and Duckett's Grove gleams once more, a ghost wrapped in morning light. The road continues northward now, following the hum of the sea and the whisper of wind through cliffs. There one in County Antrim. Another castle keeps watch over the shore, one where the walls themselves seem to breathe with the tide. Story 9. Ballygally Castle, County Antrim, where the sea meets the cliffs of Antrim and the air smells of salt and rain. Ballygally Castle stands with its towers facing the restless waves. It is a place of soft storms and stories that drift like sea mist, tales of love. loss, and the kindness that lingers even after life fades away. Built in the early 1600s, Ballygally was once both fortress and home. Today, it watches over the bay, its gray stones glowing faintly under the moonlight. From the road below, you can see the reflection of candlelight in its windows, trembling like memories too tender to extinguish. They say that long ago, Lady Isabel Shaw lived here. Her story is not one of vengeance, but of heartbreak softened by time. Locked in her chamber, alone and afraid, she sought freedom in the only way she could, by stepping from the window into the sea air. But her spirit did not fall. Instead, it stayed. Guests who sleep in the tower room sometimes feel her presence, a cool breath against the cheek, the gentle tug of a blanket, or the faint scent of lavender drifting from nowhere. Some say she knocks softly on the doors, 3 times in perfect rhythm, as if still trying to be heard. But the sound is always gentle, never meant to startle. A reminder, perhaps, that she was once alive and still wishes to be known kindly. Hotel staff have long grown used to her company. They leave a light burning in the tower at night, a quiet gesture of respect. The owners call it Isabel's room, and visitors who stay there often describe a strange calm, a warmth that shouldn't exist in such an old, sea-battered place. Outside, the wind moves across the bay like a living thing. The tide swells and sighs, and the castle seems to breathe with it. Sometimes, if the weather is still, you can hear faint humming from the top floor, a tune without words, carried softly through stone. Those who hear it say it sounds like a lullaby. Standing at the shore, you can see the castle's reflection ripple with every wave. Light flickers in the windows, and the line between earth and sea disappears. It feels as though Ballygally floats a dream suspended above the water. And when morning comes and the world turns golden, the mist burns away, leaving only the castle, the sea, and the sound of gulls circling high above. The air feels lighter, touched by something unseen but kind. Lady Isabel, it seems, still watches over her home, not in sorrow but in peace. As you follow the coastline southward, the land begins to quiet once more. The ruins grow older, the roads narrower. Somewhere beyond the fields and stone walls, the faint outline of another abbey appears, half forgotten, half awake, wrapped in ivy and moonlight. Story 10. The Abbey of Kilcooley, County Tipperary. In the rolling hills of County Tipperary, hidden within the folds of the countryside, rests Kilcooley Abbey, a hushed ruin where stone and silence have lived side by side for centuries. The air here feels untouched, cool and fragrant with grass and rain. The abbey stands as it has since the 12th century, its arches broken but graceful, its windows open to the stars. At night, the ruins glow faintly under the moon, as if the stone remembers the candlelight that once flickered within its walls. You walk through the crumbling archway, your footsteps soft on the damp earth. The sound of your breath seems to echo back at you, blending with the rustle of the wind through the grass. There is no fear here, only an immense quiet, the kind of stillness that feels alive. This was once a Cistercian monastery, built for prayer and solitude. The monks who lived here rose before dawn, their chants rising like mist into the cold morning air. The walls are gone now, the roof long surrendered to time, but something of that devotion still lingers. Some say that on certain nights, when the wind is still and the stars are clear, you can hear the faint murmur of voices, not ghostly wails, but the low, rhythmic hum of ancient prayer. Villagers have long spoken of figures in white drifting between the arches, their movements slow and purposeful. They leave no footprints, no chill, only a sense of peace, as if their work was never truly finished. Even the birds seem to respect their presence, falling silent when the shapes pass by. At the far end of the abbey lies a stone effigy, the carved likeness of a knight, his hands folded in eternal rest. Lichen traces his armor, and his face is softened by centuries of weather. Legend says he rises once each century to walk the grounds, not as a spirit bound by sorrow, but as a guardian, ensuring the abbey remains unbroken by time. Those who have seen him describe him not as frightening, but radiant, a shape of light moving gently among the ruins, vanishing when dawn breaks. The night deepens around you. The stars press low above the abbey, bright and countless. The sound of the wind through the arches becomes a lullaby, the rhythm steady and kind. You sit for a moment on a fallen stone and feel the earth's slow heartbeat beneath you. Every sound, every silence feels older than language. Kilcooley Abbey does not haunt. It remembers. It dreams softly of prayer, of candle smoke, of footsteps in the dark hall. And now, under the gaze of the moon, it welcomes you into that dream, quiet, eternal, and full of peace. The wind eases, the mist rolls low over the field, and the ruins fade into shadow. And now the night grows quiet again. The stories fade, and the world rests in silence. Let your thoughts drift away, soft and slow. Good night.